Well folks, it's here. Unification 7.0 has now been released. And it's time to update the install guide. This video is going to be split into 3 parts. Firstly, we will be covering the ModDB installer version. Secondly, we are going to be covering the ModDB manual version. And third, we are going to be covering some very basic troubleshooting tips. This video is chaptered, so you can just skip to the specific part that you need. Please note, this install guide assumes a clean version of soulstorm. This means there are no other mods or other sort of files in the soulstorm folder itself. It is a completely new install. If you do have existing mods or other such things in the folder, do not worry, you can still use this install guide. Unification will quite happily sit alongside things like Crucible, and if you have an old version of Unification, say 6.9, the installer should delete it for you. Of course, if you are doing the manual version, you will have to delete Unification manually by just selecting all Unification files in your folder and hitting the delete key. Also note that all links that are discussed in this video will be posted in the description below. So let's get on with the installer version. For this, we will need 2 files which can be found in Files on the main ModDB page. We are going to need first Unification v7.0.0 installer exe. This is the installer itself and does not contain any of the main files. Just click download now, and that should start downloading. Note that I am doing this in Firefox. Your browser, the download location thing may be different, but I think they're normally around here. That's done. So let's go back. And let's go for Unification v7.0.0. This is the file that contains all of the data that the mod will need. So, as you can imagine, yes, it is quite large at 16.8 gigabytes. At least, however, it is not split into 2 like it was last year, thanks to a recent update by ModDB allowing for greater file sizes. So now, we will click download now, and that will begin downloading. I am not going to make you watch the full thing download. I do have relatively quick internet, so my download speed may be a lot faster than yours, or it may be slower if yours is faster than mine. So yes, I am going to skip directly to when we have the actual files downloaded. So, I have finished downloading those. Note, you do not actually have to put them in a separate folder like I have. I have merely done this for the ease of recording this video, as you can tell by the extra files there. You can run this directly from your downloads folder, which is normally in C users, your name, and then downloads. If you have, of course, changed your default downloads folder, it will be wherever you have put it. So, let us run Unification. So, we will now have 2 files. Firstly, we will have unification-v7.0.0.exe. The exe bit will only appear if you have file extensions visible. It'll be approximately this big in file size. We will also have unification.c 7Z. Again, the 7Z bit will only appear if you have file extensions active. It will be approximately this big in file size. So, let's double click on the Unification v7.0.0.exe. We will then get User Account Control. This is a default Windows feature. You won't be able to see it, but all we need to do is click Yes if that pops up. It may be disabled for you. I don't know, it varies from PC to PC. So, when we open the application, we will be presented with the End User License Agreement. We can click Agree to this. The application will then ask for the destination folder. This should be your base soulstorm folder, as shown here on the screen. Please do not put Unification in a separate folder. The installer will create its own folders. Click Next. The application will then ask you what you want to actually install. So, you can install Unification v7.0.0 full. That is the mod itself. You can also get the installer to download and install the DAO mod manager for you. If you are installing this on a clean install, then you may as well. Let's click Install. The installer will then go about its business. Please note that it may take some time, and it may appear at times like it has frozen. Do not worry, it has not. I am not going to make you sit through the entire install process here, so I am going to skip to when it has completed. And I am done. So, the install says completed. So let's close this and take a look in our soulstorm folder. In our soulstorm folder, we should now have several new files and folders. We will have Unification, Unification.module. Again, the .module will only show up if file extensions are active. You will also have Unification-v7.0.0-uninstall.exe and DAO Mod Manager v2.3.2.2. And that is the installer version done. So, I am now going to reset my folder, and I will move on to the manual version of the install. And now for the manual install process. So let's click Files, and there are two files that we will be grabbing from here, although technically only one is actually required. The one that is required is Unification v7.0.0. So let's click on that. Click Download Now. And much like last time, I am not going to be letting this finish because, well, I've already got it, so there is absolutely no point in me downloading it again. Once that is finished downloading, we are going to grab Engine 7.0 version. This is the loading screen that DAO uses when you first boot up the game. So let us download this. Once again, should pop up here. ModDB does appear to be struggling at the minute. There we go. because yes, I am recording this on pretty much the day after release. So, another thing we will need is 7-zip. 7-zip is an archive extractor. If you have something like WinRAR or WinZip, you can use those. However, 7-zip is the one that I personally prefer. So the website is here. You can find the link in the description. I will not be showing how to install this. This will likely be the one that you will be downloading if you are on a Windows PC. You could also use the stable version here. It doesn't really matter. We will also need the Dawn of War mod manager, because as we are installing manually, it will not be downloaded. So, the link, once again, will be in the description, and we will want to click this, DAO Mod Manager v2.3.2.2, as of recording. Of course, the version number may change should Fragjacker release any further updates to it. Ignore the one, I likely downloaded this already as part of one of the many failed attempts at recording this. Now that we've grabbed them, we can proceed with the actual installation. Now that we have downloaded them, it's time to move them to the soulstorm folder and extract them. To do this, click and drag to select all three. Drag them down to the old Dawn of War Soulstorm folder. Open your Soulstorm folder. Yes, I have mine on quick access. You might not necessarily do so. If you wish to find your Soulstorm folder, I will cover that in the troubleshooting section. Let's scroll down and find Unification 7Z. This is going to be the one we install first. So let's right click. I, unfortunately, am using Windows 11. Windows 11, for some reason, decided that it is going to hide the full actual menu when right clicking behind an extra button, because Microsoft. So, if you are on Windows 11, you will need to click Show More Options. If you are on Windows 10, you will see this right off the bat. We want to go to 7-zip, and then click Extract here in the next menu that pops up. This will then start the extraction process. I am not going to make you sit through the entire extraction process, though I have found in tests that, at least on my PC, this seems to be a lot quicker than the installer. As evidenced here by the fact that it's nearly halfway done. The extraction window has disappeared, and now 2 new things have appeared in my Soulstorm folder. The first is Unification itself. The second is Unification.module. Now we have done that, we can get rid of the Unification 7Z file. I personally like to keep it around, but if you are low on storage, you can pretty much delete it as soon as you have confirmed that the mod itself is working. Now we will be doing the Dawn of War mod manager, for which we will be doing the exact same process. Right-click on DAO Mod Manager v2.3.2.2.7z. Show more options for Windows 11. Go to 7-zip and extract here. It's a very small folder, so that completed instantly, and we will see that DAO Mod Manager v2.3.2.2 has indeed appeared. Now we will do the same with engine.7z. Show more options. And extract here. If it asks you whether you want to replace the file, just hit yes. And now everything should be installed. I'm going to move these into the old folder. And that is the manual version of the install. And with that, regardless of which method you used, you should now have a working version of Unification. All that remains is to test it. So, let us open the DAO Mod Manager itself. I am going to get user account control because I have my mod manager set to run in admin mode. More on that later. One thing that I am going to say, and I'm going to put here rather than in the troubleshooting section because it is so important, is that you need to click this button here, toggle LAA. Make sure that the text just below the box goes green. For those unaware, Large Address Aware is a little thing that allows 32-bit pieces of software to use up to 4 GB of RAM. They are normally capped to 2. Games like Dawn of War Soulstorm, Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, General Zero Hour, they are all 32-bit pieces of software. They're from a bygone age where anything more than 2 GB of RAM was considered fancy. Because Unification uses a lot of high-quality things, while optimized, LAA is kind of required to get you up to 4 GB of RAM. You cannot in any way, shape or form go above 4 GB of RAM, so you do still need to be careful. More on that in the troubleshooting section. With that, I am going to tick Start Mod, or I'm going to click Start Mod. Make sure that Unification version 7.0 is indeed selected. If you have more than one in the list here, just click on Unification. This is a menu, so you can select it. Click Start Mod. And the game should start to load. There is our fancy new loading screen that we got. And after some loading time, it should eventually drop you at the main menu itself. We can confirm that we are on 7.0 because of this up here. DAO engine Unification mod 7.0 up in the top left. And with that, we have a working Unification. And that is the entire install process. I don't know who this guy is. He just seems to have snuck in from somewhere. So yes, with all of that said, it's time to do a little bit of troubleshooting and some extra things that may be useful for those who wish to play the game. And now for some extra bits. First off, we are going to disable the map fog. The map fog was implemented by Red Hat back in the day to save on processing power. But nowadays, processors are generally a lot better, and while the 4 GB limit is still there, it's not quite as much of an issue. The original DAO only had a 2 GB limit, as explained when I talked about LAA. So, we are going to do this by ensuring that both DAO Mod Manager and soulstorm.exe are running in admin mode. So let's right click on DAO Mod Manager, Properties, Compatibility, and make sure Run this program as an administrator is ticked. Then click Apply. We are going to do the exact same thing to Soulstorm. Once that is done, open up the Mod Manager and click the Disable Fog option. That should get rid of the map fog itself. If the map fog is still there, there is a frequently asked questions section in the Unification Discord, which will explain how to get around it. The next thing we're going to cover is some extra RAM saving tips. So, DAO, as explained earlier, is a bit of an old game. It can only go up to 4 GB of RAM with LAA on. This means that matches like 6-player games and 8-player games are going to be extremely difficult, if not outright impossible, depending on your setup. So, with this in mind, we are going to go to the Settings menu in DAO Mod Manager. Let's go Video, and here we are. So, for saving on RAM, the recommended things to do are to set Shadow Detail to None, Persistent Bodies to None, and Persistent Scarring to Low. Also ensure that you turn off this here, high-res textures. This is one of the biggest RAM sinks in the entire game. So, if you are still crashing with these settings, you will simply need to start messing around with things like texture detail, model detail, terrain detail, world events, and dynamic light. I would highly recommend you leave FX detail on high. The reason for this is that some of the effects will not play if you have that at anything other than high. For further details on RAM crashes, I would recommend checking out the Dawn of War Unification Mod Wiki page. This does have a troubleshooting page in itself, and covers quite a lot of things. For example, for our RAM crashes, as we were just discussing, this is 2.2. This goes into a lot of detail, but also has quick tier lists that you can refer to. So, toggle LAA, everyone needs to do this, as we've discussed. Also, don't look in the Army Painter, or if you do, restart after you have looked in the Army Painter itself. Don't go above 1080p, don't Alt-Tab while loading a match, and don't run in windowed mode. Windowed mode is exceptionally buggy. DAO really does not like it, so I would highly recommend not using windowed mode if you can avoid it. There are further tiers, such as things like getting Vulkan from the Unification Discord. It is pinned in the general chat room. The Unification general chat room, not the off-topic one. Also, Discord, yes, we have found, does really, really, really mess with DAO. Like, ridiculously so. So I would highly recommend, when you are playing DAO, make sure that the app itself is completely closed. Not minimized to system tray. Deaded. If you have to use Discord while you are playing Dawn of War Soulstorm, you should probably use the web client version. rather than the app version. Because from the tests that we have made, it does not appear that the web version actually affects DAO. It is only the app. Random side note. If you have the GOG version, then unfortunately, this version is currently considered the worst way to play Soulstorm, particularly modded. It, as you can see on the screen, has issues with fog, LAA, and the expanded campaign add-on for Unification. You should not activate LAA via the mod manager. If you have activated LAA via the mod manager for the GOG version, turn it off and use NT Core. The link will be, again, in the description. The recommended version is the Steam version, but I obviously understand that not everyone wants to buy the game on Steam. However, if you want to play the expanded campaign, I'm afraid you will have to bite the bullet and get the game on Steam. Another place you can get assistance, somewhat ironically given what I've just mentioned, is the Unification Discord itself. It has a tech support channel, and yes, if you post your issue in here, then we may very well be able to help. Please note that if you do post in the actual tech support channel itself, the people who assist in there are all volunteers. We all do this for free. So please don't expect an immediate reply. We will get to you when we can. We obviously have real lives to do. We're not paid for this. This isn't a company tech support thing. So please be patient when posting in the actual tech support channel itself. In order to find your Soulstorm directory, if you don't know where it is, if you have the Steam version, then you can just find your entry in your Steam library, right-click it, go to Manage, and go to Browse Local Files. And that is how you get to your Soulstorm folder with the Steam version. If you have another version, then that obviously will not be the process, and you will have to find it in a different way. I thought we would take a quick look inside the Unification folder itself. Inside the Unification folder, you should have 45 items. The majority of these are going to be SGA, which are essentially just a packed data file, similar to Doom's WAD files, if you're familiar with Doom modding at all. You should also have the Unification Configurator 1.0.9.exe. The file sizes should appear quite similar as they do here, though note that due to rounding things, the numbers may be slightly different, particularly if you are on a different OS. If you are getting data errors when you are trying to launch the application, if it just crashes out straight at the initial loading screen before you get to the main menu, then it might be wise to check these and make sure that the file sizes are all around correct. Something that we very frequently see in the tech support channel is corrupted files. Especially at the moment, because obviously day after release, ModDB servers are basically being DDoSed by everyone trying to download Unification. So, one thing you can do to confirm that your files are actually correct is to run a test. To test your file, right-click on the 7z file itself, Show more options for Windows 11 users. 7-zip. Test archive. This will run a check on all the files within the archive to make sure their integrity is intact. If it finds anything that is off, it will flag it up, and unfortunately that does mean you will have to completely re-download the file. Unfortunately, there is no way around that. Hopefully mine should come back as no errors. So this is your end screen. If there are any errors, they will be listed here. Hopefully there are none. Another major part of troubleshooting is -dev. This generates log files that can be used to help pin down issues, such as fatal SCAR errors, fatal AI errors, and things like that. So, if you are going to post in tech support and you have a fatal SCAR error, please tick dev, start the mod, play the game up until you get the fatal SCAR error again, and then grab your log files from here. Common in my case, because I've got the Steam version, Dawn of War Soulstorm log files, and then it will be the latest. One. So, for example, with this one here from about 2 days ago, I have scarlog.txt. That's a rather important one, and ailog.txt. Those are the two main ones that we may ask for. Scarlog specifically, again with fatal SCAR errors, and AIlog with AI errors. Just remember, though, dev mode does disable multiplayer. So if we ask you for these logs, you will have to obtain them in single player. Also, do remember to clear out your log files every so often if you leave it on. It's normally better to turn it off after you have got the logs we need. But if you do leave it on, for example, you're using something like an AutoExec file, yeah, make sure to clear the logs every so often because they do take up space. Another thing that is quite useful is the AutoExec file. This is useful for, well, it can be used for any mod really, but it binds certain dev commands to your keyboard. So you can increase the game speed, you can toggle the taskbar to take better screenshots, and you can set yourself to be played by an AI if you so want. You can also toggle the map, fog of war. So this does require dev to be active. So in the mod manager, for example, we will need -dev ticked. So if we download it, yeah, it can only be used in single player. It can't really be used in multi. Download. Go to my downloads folder. Click and drag it over to the soulstorm and replace the file in a destination. If you already have one. If you don't, then yeah, that might not come up. Now, we can actually edit this. So let's edit it in Notepad. And we can set the keybinds ourselves. Obviously, keep in mind that if you set, let's say, toggle screen mode to F1, then it will also change the unit's stance at the same time. It will not replace any existing keybinds, it will only sort of, well, work alongside them. With a few notable exceptions, I believe. I could be wrong. So yeah, that's the last useful thing that comes to mind at the minute. And with that, the install is finished. So, hopefully this has been helpful. I will be collecting various frequently asked questions throughout the next maybe week or so, and may very well end up doing a follow-up video to this at a later date. But that is it for now. Please note the comment section here is disabled. Unfortunately, people keep trying to get tech support via the comments of a YouTube video, and when you're doing tech support, posting pictures is quite helpful, hence why I'm trying to drive people to the Discord instead. And as mentioned, all the links for everything that is required will be listed below. So, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Enjoy Unification 7.0, and until next time, I have been Caldaris. Goodbye.